Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today is Thursday, June 15th, 2023. Here's the number. 3.6 exahash a second, right? That's where I'm essentially calculating our actual internal hash rate happens to be. The reason I say that is because as of today, we would have or will have presumably received the final 200 petahash as part of the win-win hosting plus deal that Stronghold Digital Mining has with Canaan. So my operational assumption is that the remaining 200 petahash has now been installed, therefore bringing us up to 3.6 exahash. It's a really big deal. I want to show you a slide from about a year ago. This would have been the May 2022 investor presentation. Let's go ahead and put up that slide. So as you can see, as of May 12th, 2022, we were at 3 exahash of actual Bitcoin mining capacity, right? And we were guiding towards 4.2 exahash of Bitcoin mining capacity by the end of last year. But let's just kind of focus for a moment on that final dark green bar, which I probably should have highlighted in the slide. I apologize for not doing that. And it shows that we were at 3 exahash in terms of our hash rate. Okay, back to me for a moment. So as of right now, we have, in a very healthy way, surpassed, at least based on my calculations, we've surpassed where we were about a year ago. And what's really exciting about that is the fact that at this juncture, we really do appear to be on track in a very meaningful, sustainable way to reaching 4 exahash, quite possibly well before September 30th, 2023. Interestingly, if you would have noticed from that previous slide, we were actually forecasting 4 exahash of Bitcoin mining capacity by September 30th, 2022. So it does feel like deja vu a little bit. The difference is, remember, we made a very strategic, intelligent, really ingenious decision to give back about 2.5 exahash of our Bitcoin mining capacity, more or less, in exchange for a substantial debt extinguishment. And what really then opened up the door to this incredible opportunity to acquire that same Bitcoin mining capacity for like a dramatically lower price. There is going to be an episode of O&M that comes out over the weekend, and I'm going to be going into a lot more detail. I know that this is already kind of getting into the weeds a bit, but I wanted to at least touch upon some of what has been on my mind as it relates to this. I do want to bring up another slide, and I believe this is slide 2. Let's go ahead and put that up on the screen. Okay. So as you can see, this was the roadmap for modeling Stronghold, which was part of our investor presentation for Q1 2023, so this year. You'll notice the part that I highlighted here says 95 megawatts current mining load, moving to 130 megawatts by 9/30/23. Bear in mind, we are forecasting, right, 4 exahash of Bitcoin mining capacity by September 30th, right, of 2023. So take a look at the math on the bottom right-hand corner of this slide. 130 megawatts is basically 130 million watts. When we divide that by 4 million terahashes, it produces an efficiency number of 32.5. And we'll delve into joules versus watts in the episode of O&M, but for simplicity's sake, let's kind of treat them as being the same. So we're really talking about a situation here where our fleet-wide miner efficiency would appear to be, based on the numbers on the slide, would appear to be around 32.5. Back to me, please. Right now, in the dashboard itself, I'm sort of using the number of 35.5 currently as our Bitcoin mining fleet-wide efficiency ratio. clearly, right, as we move closer to 4 exahash and as we continue to get these incredibly efficient next generation Bitcoin mining machines, it lowers our overall average fleet efficiency. As I will discuss in the episode of O&M, when we look at a particular portion of the, I believe it was Q2 2022, the slide deck, there was information there, right, that sort of said, hey, we're keeping about 1.4 exahash of Bitcoin mining capability, right, after we, return all these miners in exchange for a very mission critical debt extinguishment. We'll have about 1.4 exahash of Bitcoin mining capacity, and that translates into about 50 to 55 megawatts of like actual energy usage. When you do all the math, it kind of worked out more or less. I'll get into all the details in O&M, but it worked out to a miner efficiency of about 37 or so, 37 to 39. I don't have the numbers immediately in front of me, but my point in mentioning this is that we have very consistently, ever since we turned back, we turned in all those miners last year, what we have been doing is restocking our Bitcoin mining data centers with, generally speaking, very, very efficient machines. And so that's translating into a scenario where our efficiency is going to get better and better and better as we reach 4 exahash. And as I'll touch upon in the forthcoming episode of O&M, I think there's actually the ability to get higher than 4, even with the existing electrical and data center capability that we have. Remember, we were actually guiding towards 4.2 for the end of last year, and that would have been in Q1 2022. So you wonder, well, wait a minute, where's that extra 0.2 exahash? How is that fitting into our infrastructure? Well, clearly, there must have been some ability for that to happen. So bear in mind, I want to point something out. I throw a lot of numbers around, and I think for somebody who's like watching this maybe for the first time, it's like, well, like, where do you get the numbers for the dashboard? Like, it could seem as if though I'm maybe plugging into some sort of Stronghold Digital Mining server and, downloading data directly from the company. That's not the case. Look, nobody sat me down to explain how any of this stuff works. Okay, I had to kind of like just figure it out, and that's a good thing in many ways because it kind of forced me to do a lot of reading to try to like cobble together, what is going on. I listened to like a ton of interviews where Greg, and he's a great interview subject. I'm hopeful that, he's invited to more interviews. But yeah, like little tidbits would kind of come out here and there, and I'd cobble it all together. And that sort of like formed the basis, that plus everything in the, SEC filings, plus everything in our investor materials that are publicly disclosed, all of that data has gone into my formulation of the Ziner.com dashboard. So it's a best guess estimate, but I want to point out that these are not like precise numbers that come directly from the company. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that because I do sense sometimes that maybe it's my choice of words on the dashboard itself, especially under, I think, like the system operating status. I mean, the wording that's being used there is quite definitive, almost as if though it's like a prompt directly from a control room in a power plant. It's really just the way I programmed it so that when I look at it, it's kind of like, a pseudo system telling me, hey, this is kind of like what could be going on. Anyway, with that said, let's jump into the perhaps most important part, so to speak, right? Hey, let's get our slide up. This is going to be the summary of the last 24 hours. PJM Penelec 2440, that's a little bit up from yesterday. PJM PP&L, the zone of the grid I happen to live in, $20.99, very incrementally up from yesterday as well. So Bitcoin priced in dollars per megawatt hour, BTCMW, $75.71. That is down from yesterday. And finally, spot price of Bitcoin over the past 24 hours, these are all averages, $25,041. That is down from yesterday. And the network hash rate has, on average, been somewhat higher as well. Okay, back to me, please. Okay, it's been a wild day in the stock market. If you've been following the stock, I mean, it was down below $4 at one point, then it was up over $4. We'll see where it closes. In fact, I could probably find out right now, but it's a little bit after 4 o'clock. But you know what? The stock price, as I said a couple of episodes ago, look, it's going to do what it's going to do, okay? I believe we need to focus on operations. We need to focus on what's going on in the data centers, what's going on with the power plants. What are we doing to like potentially lower our costs even more? And to that end, in the forthcoming episode of O&M, I am going to dig in a bit more to some of the numbers that could potentially unfold as it relates to fuel operations and maintenance, as well as general and administrative for the remainder of this year. Because there is an argument to be made that maybe these numbers will start going down even more without sacrificing, quality or safety. That's really important. We don't want anybody getting hurt, anything like that. We don't want to sacrifice the integrity of the power plants or the data centers. But it's plausible that we might see these numbers come down some more. Okay, with all of that said, let's stay positive, let's be great, and we will see each other again tomorrow.